Hey, I'm Weekend Gabe, and you're checking out Weekend at Gabe's, and thanks for checking out this latest episode. While you're here, also follow us on these social medias at Weekend Gabe, at Weekend at Gabe's, and also at The Real Sam Crane. Thanks for checking us out. Joining us now from somewhere in LA, I assume, but she was in Chicago for a short period at school where she was building her profile and her craft. Joining us now to talk about her new EP, Sophia Galaté, joining us here on Weekend at Gabe's. Good evening. How are you?
Hello.
Yo, how is it
What
going?
up, Chicago?
You know what it
How
is.
are how are you on this wonderful Thursday evening? We are all excited about having you and Silas join us tonight for this sort of R&B, uh,
Love
just
it.
a celebration of soulful music. You guys both offered these wonderful interpretations and just stunning audio sensibilities that
Thank
can't be
you.
explained unless experienced. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Thank you
let's
so much.
yeah, no problem. And so let's get into that. You spent some time here in Chicago
Right.
from LA. You're at Loyola studying music. Why Loyola? Why Chicago? And then also, what was that experience like for you?
So Chicago is like my second home. Actually I've been traveling to Chicago since I was about 10 years old. Yeah, I'm from LA, but my best friend that I grew up with here moved to Chicago when we were in middle school because her mom was from there and they moved back. And so I first went there when I was 10 years old, and then I went there every summer in high school for a few weeks. So I feel like a part of me like grew up every summer in Chicago just because it was super different from where I'm from, and I met a lot of people, had these great memories like summertime in the Shy, and I was
Everybody loves
like
summertime
young,
shy.
and I met a lot of people, and I was obsessed with Chicago. Uh, like when I would come home from my trips in Chicago to LA, all my friends knew like, oh, so Sophia's back in Chicago from Chicago. Like she's not gonna stop talking about it until the next time she goes.
Right.
So when I was applying to college, I knew that I wanted to go to school in Chicago. So I really didn't care what school it was. I just needed to move to Chicago, and I chose Loyola. So I grew up singing and performing all the time. I did musical theater, and I was really like one of the main singers and performers at my high school. So I've been comfortable performing since I was young, and I'm from a small town outside of LA. So in my community, I was very much like the singer. And so I knew that I wanted to study music in college. But when I got to Chicago, I kind of like I always wanted to be an artist when I was little. But when I got to Chicago, I kind of like entered the real world and I got a little fearful of
Right.
doing something so challenging. So even though I studied music in college, I tried to convince myself that I wasn't going to take it seriously just so that I wouldn't have to hold myself accountable for doing something so daunting.
Sure.
But I had an incredible experience in Chicago. Luckily, I knew people in the city before I moved there. So I had friends from school and I had friends who were from Chicago. So I had a really nice experience and exploration of the city outside of Loyola. But Chicago is totally where I fell in love with jazz. Obviously, there's so much history there. And I studied some jazz in school. And the music program is super small at Loyola, but um, I got better at piano there. I took piano lessons, and I really kind of explored a lot of the music scene in the city on my own. I started going to some like jam sessions at Andy's Jazz Club, like downtown, kind of towards the end of my time there, which was so amazing. But yeah, I kind of like it was interesting because I was doing all these things that aspiring artists would do. I was performing at school. I was going to these jam sessions. I was, you know, would play the piano and sing for people when I had the opportunity to, but I didn't really invite my friends to my performances at school. I was just there's kind of this thing, it's like if yeah, I don't know, I just didn't wanna have to, like, overly prove myself. It was just something scary, trying to be an
Yeah.
artist, so I was a little bit
Right.
fearful of it, even though deep down I always wanted to. But I love Chicago more than anything. I think when you texted me today, you brought up Vocalo. I did an internship there in college, and that exposed me to the world of radio, and I loved working there. And I knew that I wanted to stay in some sort of entertainment and music related. So I ended up moving out of Chicago to move to LA and work in the music industry. But that's my little spiel about Chicago. I obviously love Chicago a lot because I wrote a song that's titled Chicago on my album, and it's like
Which is
a love
fantastic, by the
song
way.
to the
Definitely,
city.
definitely one of my favorite records. I hit that one
Thank
this
you.
morning for the first time, and it was like a hug. You know, like
Yes, that
I was
record
like,
is
oh,
so special to me because so it's like, and maybe you picked up on it, but it's really like a love song that I sing to the city, as if Chicago itself is a lover. Because I
and
feel like
quite literally, I think that it should be treated as such. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely, and it's
Chicago is a lover.
totally, especially because I grew up going there, so I feel like I've had this like long-term, long-distance relationship with it, and I go back all the time since to visit, and I've always like, it's just, and a part of me grew up there. So, and then Gene Noble, who's the guy featured on it, I had him really sing back to me as if he was Chicago or like the lover. And I wanted it to be more of a jazz song because that's the city that inspired it. So, and the guy who's playing horns on it is actually, his name is Victor Garcia. He is a notable jazz trumpeter in the city, but he was one of my professors in college. So it's really fire that, and I
It's
took some
full
jazz
circle.
classes with him. So I recorded part of that song at a studio in Chicago. Actually, all my whole project was mixed and mastered at VSOP in Westtown.
Nice.
And so I was recording part of it there, and I hit up Victor and I was like, I need a drummer player. And he like wrote his part, and it was just so cool because teachers love that shit,
Yeah.
to have them
A
doing
truly,
that.
a truly beautiful moment of the album too. Like when those horns kick in, and it's just
Oh my
that
God,
warm
it's like
sound.
my favorite moment. It's like boom. And it's just I just picture like lights on, like the big band is revealed. So that's what it
Yeah,
is.
some color between yellow and orange just firing off. You know,
Yes.
I love it.
You get
But
me.
you mentioned a little bit about the feeling daunted by pursuing your own music career.
Yeah.
My
Big
question
thing.
off the back of that is, I mean, we'll get into sort of what's going on with the Nucleus here in a minute, but why was it important to release this project, this first one now?
So I, as you meant, so basically, like when I was leaving Chicago, I moved back to LA in like the fall of 2016, and I was devastated to leave Chicago. But I knew that I wanted to. I thought to myself, okay, being an artist is going to be too difficult and too scary. So I'm just going to work in the music industry on the business side of things, working with artists, and that'll be just fulfilling. So I moved back, and I basically for the past 4 years I've been working in the music industry just on the other side. And I started at a talent agency where I was booking concerts and working for an agent who repped a bunch of hip hop acts, and it was a crazy first job, but a lot of young people start there because it's like boot camp, and you work crazy hours and you make no money, but you learn a lot about the industry. And I knew I didn't want to be an agent, but I worked there for like a year and a half. But it was interesting because when I moved back and started working in the industry, obviously nobody that I worked with knew that I was secretly a singer or that I had studied. Maybe some people knew I studied music, but they didn't know that like I sing and play the piano, and that was my whole life before this. So it became, but because I was back in LA, I would obviously run into people that had known me my whole life and stuff like that. And everybody was always like, "Oh, are you still singing?" Because that's what I did growing up, and everybody thought that I was going to go on and continue to sing. So for a few years, like that would happen to me all the time, and like it started to like hurt my soul that I would say no. Like, "No, I'm not singing," and because everybody just expected that of me, and
Right.
after a while, I was like, "Damn!" Like, I really like I wasn't even practicing piano. I wasn't even doing anything, and uh, I when I left ICM, I fell into managing other artists, and I kind of became an accident because I started work. I got hired to work with. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Selection, but they're a collective of DJs and everything. So I started working with Andre Power, who's one of the co-founders of Selection, and his old manager had hired me to do creative, and uh, basically things didn't really work out with his previous management, so I kind of just took over everything accidentally. And so during this time, this is in 2018, I thought to myself, I just miss singing for myself. I'm definitely too scared to like sing for people and share it with people, but I just want to start writing music. So one of my records, Hey Baby, that's on the project, I actually wrote like in 2018, like during this time. It was like the first song I really wrote. And so that's why it's crazy that it's like finally being released.
Yeah.
But what's cool about some of these records is that I wrote them a few years ago at a time when I had no idea or any intention to release them. So they're super just like real and they're for me and they're personal. That's why Hey Baby's like
Yeah.
so emotional. And so I basically started writing music and I like loved it. However, at this time I was now a manager. And I was like, I can't pursue my own music because now I'm managing other artists. There was a lot of this thing in my mind where I, like I had new friends and colleagues and clients in the industry. And how was I going to break the ice to them that I wanted? I was just like, everyone's going to judge me. Like, I just was really scared because it's like nobody, you have to be professional, even though I was
No,
still
absolutely.
young at the time. But
That's
I
that's
was
the number one thing you learn when you go to a boot camp like that is that the professionalism has to remain intact. So
totally,
I feel like
totally.
that's where a lot of the fear came from.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't know how to like everybody that I work with is gonna be like, what the hell are you trying to like just confused, you know? So I was really scared of that for a while. And especially because I had just started working with Andre. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna be like, I'm your manager and I'm singing. Like there was no way I
Yeah.
was gonna do that. And but over time I started writing a few songs and I wanted to have a small show. And this show was like very significant to me. It was a small show in LA. I never advertised it. I just like word of mouth, everybody came because at this time I was not singing on my Instagram. I was not. And when I had this show, I didn't even think I wanted to be an artist. I just missed performing. So I did it. And half the people that came were friends and family from home who knew that I was a singer, but they hadn't heard me in so long. And then the other half was friends from the industry who were like, we're your friends, so we'll come, but like we don't know what's happening. So the show went really well and I felt so good and I was like, maybe I should get one of my songs recorded. Now this is in 2019 and so the first single that I put out is Body and I put Body out a year ago.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to get that song recorded just because I didn't have a timeline and I wasn't really taking it that seriously, but there was a lot of learning things I didn't know about how to get a song recorded,
Mhm.
especially being such a low key artist and nobody knowing I'm an artist, so who's gonna like record my shit for me, you know? So I ended up not, you know, I ended up I re-recorded the drums like a million times on that song. So, I ended up e releasing it in the pandemic. Luckily, I shot a music video for it before the pandemic, and it's so funny to think at the time I was like, "It'd be cool to do a music video, but there's no way I can do a music video, like, that I wouldn't do that, like, who am I?" And my friend was like, "Just do it," like and so, um, basically when the pandemic happened, obviously everything slowed down. And I had time to think like, "Okay, I really wanna finish this song." It was, like, the only record I had, so it was my whole life. This record was just and I had to finish the video, and still at this time in the pandemic, I had never posted a video of me singing on my Instagram. So, a few months into the pandemic, I posted, like, a video of me singing this, like, D'Angelo cover, and everybody that followed me was like, "Wait, what the hell? Da, 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 da." And so it kinda made me just feel like I can put myself out there, like, I can do this, and it's so funny because, like, I've been singing since I was little, so it's not even that deep to me. It's just funny because like, nobody that I would have been working with for years knew about it, and, my clients and everybody were supportive at this point because 'cause I've been working with them for a few years, and I was super careful how I did it. I was never in their face about it. They kind of found out later.
Yeah.
So I released Body last September, and when I released it, I kinda made this statement when I announced it, kind of telling my story a little bit, just like because my friend was like, "No one's gonna really know if you're serious, that you're just, like, releasing a song, so, like, let's explain why." So I kind of explained, like, why I've been working in the music industry is because I'm a musician, and I've been singing for so long, and that's my real passion, and I've always wanted to do this, and I've been working on a song. A lot of these people know that, previously throughout these years, I have established the Nucleus, which I can talk about in a second, which is
Mhm.
my own management company. So, I released Body, and when I released Body, I didn't really have anything else ready. That's why my album came out a year later. But also, I had a lot of trials and tribulations this whole year. Like, Body was such an incredible moment for me, like, releasing that song, and I tell people, I'm like, when I released Body, somebody had asked me right before I released it, somebody who didn't even know, like, somebody was like, "Oh my God, you're releasing a song?" Like, who was, like, shocked by it, who didn't know that about me. They're like, "Are you nervous?" And I said, "No." I was like, "I love this song so much that I don't care if no one listens to it." I was like, "I'm just so happy that I'm finally doing this." And it's
Mm.
crazy because I spent years worrying about other people's opinion, or worrying that people are gonna judge me and all this stuff, and then by the time I was releasing my song, I was like, "I don't even care if anybody listens to it because I love it," you know?
Right.
So, yeah, and then I don't know if you want me to get into the whole album, but it took me a year to really figure out the rest of it, which was a lot.
The
Yeah.
thing the thing that is interesting for me listening to your story is kind of like this semi self doubt about how would the perception or having people notice this talent that you've developed since you were a child, and to the self confidence that you have on your records like Love Me, like Body,
Totally.
and
That's
it's
what's interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm very, like, as a person, like, I was never really nervous or doubtful of my talent, or, like, how I performed, or with who I am. Like, I have a very confident personality, like, have an incredible relationship with myself, and I'm very open about that. But it was more of the it was like, I knew that, for example, when I invited my colleagues to my show and they didn't know I was a singer, I wasn't nervous for them to hear me. I was nervous of breaking the ice to them. It was like the whole freaking out of, like, how I was gonna make this transition in a way that was professional and that made sense, like, and stuff like that. So, it was like, once I and even I still had to do that with this project. Like, some people were like, "Wait, you were, like, a manager, like, last time I checked," you know? So, that is something that even is interesting to me, because it's like, I know that I'm super confident with myself and what I do, but it's like the whole, like, judgment of the way that I was going about things, I was just nervous about. But I appreciate you for bringing that up, because it is something I'm like, I'm so confident with myself and everything, but I'm like, I got so freaked out about this for so long. But it's a big thing, especially when you already work in the industry. Nobody wants It's like, "Oh, your manager is like an aspiring artist." Like, it's just a weird thing to think about it that way. Even though it wasn't like that for me, it was like I, for so long, was hiding it from my
Yeah.
clients, and then they kind of saw from afar and were like, "Girl, what are you doing? Like, share it to us." Like, it was super humble the way that I did it, but yeah, that's, like, what it was.
Word, word. And let's talk about, I mean, we talked a lot about working in the industry, but let's get into what's going on with the Nucleus. This woman founded, I think it's you and two others, or you and three others?
There's 4 of us, so there's 3
Four
others.
of you total. Okay, yeah. Fantastic artist management. Your roster goes on for at least 3 web pages. You guys, you guys got a whole thing going on, and I love it. What would you say? Because I can't think that that was like worthless, right? Like you're working behind the scenes on other
Yeah,
people's
no,
projects.
honestly.
You get some sort of understanding of how to release things, what the strategies work and what don't. So, what was your sort of biggest takeaway from establishing this agency? And then on top of that, how do you balance now this artist that's blossoming with this career that's pretty stable and doing a good job?
Thank you. Yeah, so the Nucleus are my sisters now. Um, we all were assistants at ICM together. So we all, like, sat in cubicles next to each other and, like, spent our whole lives, like, drowning in work at this place. So we got super close, and basically we all kind of went on to do we've all worked other jobs still in addition to the Nucleus, when we left ICM, but we were kind of all just helping each other with our own individual things, and we were like, we should just make this a business. So we did that. We kind of all have our own. We each run point on specific clients underneath the umbrella of the Nucleus. So I was really running point on Andre and this really fire jazz band called Catalyst. It's a 9-piece jazz band from LA. A lot of them played on a few of them are playing on the Chicago record, actually. So that um definitely, I think the most valuable thing from that is our relationships and our, knowledge of the industry. I think we all, it's really a relationship game, especially
Mm.
for somebody like me who, like, I don't have a huge following but I understand how to navigate the industry in to some sense. However, people always ask me this. They're like, "Oh, like, you probably know everything to do because you're a manager." I'm like, "No, like, I still do." First of all, the mindset of an artist is way different than a manager, and that's something that's very new territory for me and
Yeah.
honestly overwhelming
Yeah.
because I'm sensitive and emotional about everything now, and as a manager, I had no feelings attached to any of the work, you know?
Yeah.
So that's something that's challenging, but, at least I'm very self-sufficient in my own project, so it's like, I know how to handle things, I know how to produce music video, like, just things like that, that I know how to
Mhm.
do. Um, so, and the girls on my team on the Nucleus have helped me, so much with this project. So, yes, everything that's why it's like it took me this long to put this album out, and for years I was just like, "I'm getting older, like, when am I gonna put this out?" And I was stressed about that for a long time. But, I think even I thought that the album even, like, for years, I was like, "I should have been writing music right out of college." But then even I thought was gonna release the EP in March,
Mm.
and that didn't happen, and I ended up writing Intimate Feeling and Love Me and changed the whole project, and now the project's way better and became this bigger and better thing anyway. So, I spent so much time stressing and freaking out about the timeline of things. So, really just trusting the process is a big thing. It's like I learned all these lessons after the fact that I wish, you could've it's like, "Oh," like, the day my project's coming out, I was like, "Oh, shouldn't" like, learning lessons, like, the day it comes out, I'm like
Yeah.
but, now I'm doing minimal management. I'm not doing as much, uh, because I'm obviously, like, really focused on this artist stuff, but I still
Yeah.
work with these artists, and what's cool is that we all kind of work together. Like I said, the jazz band that I've been managing plays with me at some of my shows and played on one of the records. So, yeah, it all works out.
Yeah. Really, I love what you said about relationships, and I love what you said about those being like almost left and right brain. Management with like no
That
emotions,
has
and
been
artists all emotions all the
that has been
time.
the most challenging thing to me, like, is handling my mental about it.
Yeah.
There's so many things that, went wrong and I had to fix. Like my director ghosted me before 3 days before the video. My stylist got COVID 2 days before the shoot, or just so many things. And it's like all that stuff in the moment was crazy stressful and I had to handle it. But like nothing is more challenging than my new artist mindset. Like this has been a very like emotional and vulnerable journey for me, which I actually love because I used to really ignore my feelings and have trouble being vulnerable. So it's been
Mm.
a nice experience in that sense. But, especially really kind of managing myself at this point to have like, handle the business while like freaking out about the artist side of things has been super overwhelming. Like I was just very overwhelmed at like some of the ways that I was feeling like throughout this year getting this done. And it's so funny now, like now that it's out, I'm like so relieved and so happy and so excited to like do all these things with it. But I'm like, I'm like thinking about how I feel now compared to how I felt. I was like so unwell this whole year. I was like, we did it. It's fine. But it's just, that's been challenging for sure.
Word,
All right.
word.
Well, before we get out of here, we usually ask a couple really fun, quirky
Hold on,
questions.
I got some too, Gabe. So get yours off, and I'm gonna get mine off, and then we
All right.
go.
We
Yay,
often
we love that.
sometimes have LA-based artists jump on
Of
who
course.
also have spent time in Chicago, and obviously
Love it.
food is a huge thing. Which do you favor,
Okay.
LA cuisines or those that are from Chicago?
I'm sorry, but like it's really LA. Like I
Really?
yeah, like
All right,
I
that's it. That's it for the interview. Okay.
You can't come home
He's
now.
out. I'm, like, so boring. Like, I mean, okay, first of all, I love coming to Chicago, and I love going to Argyle and getting Vietnamese food. Like, that
Everybody
is what
loves
I love.
Argyle Vietnamese food.
But
Yes.
I like just lighter food, and I think it works out better in LA, truthfully. And I'm just
Okay.
gonna be real with it. I'm not, like, a crazy foodie, I'm just gonna be honest, but I like Vietnamese food and, like, regular things. Sorry to, like, make you sad, but
Man.
we're telling the truth here, you know?
It's all about truth telling on this show. That's what we love.
Yes.
And that's why I'm going to get into my rapid fire questions that I have right here. There's not too many of them, but they're effective. So without any context for this question, LA or Chicago?
Chicago.
Tight.
I truthfully like don't even care about LA, honestly. I literally have a C on my wrist for like people think I'm from Chicago the way that I talk about it.
I thought you were from Chicago until this morning, where I was like,
I
oh, maybe
know.
she's on LA time.
Yeah,
Yes.
no.
Okay, next one. Deep dish or California Pizza Kitchen?
Deep dish.
Thank you.
Even though I just said I like California, but like California Kitchen, like, it's just like
It's trash. It's trash.
anymore.
It was a setup. That question was a setup. Thank you for pointing it out. Okay,
I won.
jazz or R&B?
That is like challenging for me because I feel like, sorry, this is supposed to be rapid fire. I'm just gonna go with jazz.
Jazz. All right, that's cool. We've been weighing in on this question for weeks, but I need to ask you: pumpkin pie or sweet potato pie?
Honestly, I'd rather have banana cream.
Out of left field, Gabe. Out of left field.
I like the third option. There you go.
That was a great answer. Not a lot of people answer the third option in rapid fire, but more people should. Okay.
Yeah.
Last one. Management or making the thing?
Making the thing, of course.
Thing. All right, love to
I
see
was
it.
like-
We also pride ourselves on doing some research for this show, and we often ask our guests for tips on how to improve our life. I uncovered a very old article from Malibu Junior Miss
Oh my
that
god.
mentioned your name in there as somebody who won the fitness portion of the competition.
Wait, I feel like that's like the first, like that's on the first. That's probably on the first page of Google when you search me, right?
Oh, it's up there.
That's
It's
what I'm
up
saying.
there.
I'm like, I need these like this artist thing to like keep happening so like I can go on
So
the third
those
page.
go further down and get harder to find.
No,
Yes.
like if you search me, it's like all my water polo games from high school. I'm like, can you like, put my music video first now? Like I think did you find my old high school videos on YouTube?
I did not dive
Well,
that
now
deep.
you're gonna look.
Now
I have like a separate. Now I'm just gonna. Honestly, I kind of like. I don't mind if people see them because it's like the evolution of things is like pretty incredible. But I have this old YouTube account from high school that I have. The email that was associated with it is deactivated, and like I literally can't get access to it. So like these videos are just gonna be of me performing in high school, and they're hilarious. But yes, I did win the Junior Miss. I did win the Junior Miss thing. My family runs a small gym, so we're all very into fitness. So
do you have any tips for me and Weekend Gabe? Because as you can see, it's Chicago winter, and neither of us are getting any skinnier at this point. You know what I mean? I don't want to speak for Gabe, but I can speak for myself at the very least. And this jacket looks bulky, but it's mostly me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so many people like who don't work out think that they hate working out, and it's like just do the workouts that you like. Like people like I hate running. I don't want to go running. If you don't go running, there's like 6,000 other exercises you can do. I'm sure you can find something.
Right.
Yo, everybody at home, that was the tip. That was why you watched the
profound.
Please go listen to the album. Sophia is out now. A bunch of lovely records, including the Chicago joint, including Love Me, which is a personal favorite of mine, and Body, the single, which has been out for a while. Thank you so much for giving us your time and stopping by the studio. And hopefully when those results start to move a little bit further down, we can have you back so we can talk exclusively about water polo.
Not like every interview moving forward, they're like, I found this Junior Miss thing, and tell me about your water polo game. Like, I love that though. I appreciated that.
We saved it for the end. There you go. We're not like everyone else.
Yeah, I peaked in high school, I guess.
You'll show them.
Weekend Gabe did too. That's okay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Sophia Galaté, joining us here tonight on Weekend at Gabe's. Thank you so much for your time. We hope to talk to you soon in the future.
Bye.
Peace.
All right. There's so much stuff we didn't get to, but I'm really excited and glad that we had a chance to chat with her.
Yeah, man. Incredible artist. I just can't wait to see what's next. And that was my last question. It was what's next. We didn't have time for it. But I hope there's another album. I hope there's more music videos. The music videos are stunning visually.
Exactly. So I mean, that some of her director canceled on her, and she was still able to put together a fire video. That's, hey, you know, if you have good talent around you, you can do almost anything.
Absolutely.
Hey, I'm Weekend Gabe. Thanks for checking out this latest episode of Weekend at Gabe's. Click on any of the links swirling around my head, and also hit the subscribe button while you're here. Thanks for checking out us here on YouTube.